All right, so let's go ahead. Now we are delving into the meat of the interview readiness, and this is where I would request you to mute yourself, and then let me go through all the technical questions. Again, most commonly used and asked. Not every technical question you can anticipate. So please bear with me, and then we will open the forum for overall question and answers. So technical questions, general technical questions, then we will discuss BW technical questions, then we will discuss your SAC technical questions, which includes planning as well, by the way. And then we have native HANA technical questions. So these are some of the main questions, technically, main in the sense most frequently encountered questions for me personally. Either I have asked them or I have faced them. And then finally, we'll end with behavioral questions. These days, it's not just technical, then they will ask you behavioral questions as well. So we'll discuss that. Time check, we are 12:23 my time EST. This was scheduled for 1 hour, but we will go over maybe by 10-15 minutes. So again, I'm sorry about that. If you guys want to stay back, more than welcome. If you have anything important to attend to, please go ahead. This will be recorded anyways, so the recording will be shared, so you will not miss anything. So I just wanted to give you a time check on that. Thank you. So, very basic question. Tell me about yourself, or walk me through your resume, or can you please tell me about your background? Okay, same question in different avatar, but basically what they are asking is important to understand. When someone asks, tell me about yourself, they are not asking you to tell them about your life. They are basically interested to know what skills and what experience you will bring on the table. What is the value addition you will bring for their company? They are not interested in your personal life. They are not interested where you grew up, with whom you grew up, what are your hobbies. They are not interested in that. So when someone asks you, tell me about yourself, keep it very professional. Explain how you succeeded in various situations and what you specialized in technically. Okay, again, nothing personal, keep it very professional. What roles and responsibility you successfully handled. Highlight these things. Example, I've given an example. This is how I introduce myself. So this is how it goes. So I'm primarily an SAP analytics consultant with around 18 years of rich experience, specializing in BW, HANA, SAC, and recently I have been fortunate enough to get my project experience, get my hands dirty in PAPM as well. So these are my core skill sets. I started as a BW developer and moved my way up to be a BW, HANA, and SAC lead with several end-to-end implementation, migration, and support projects. I have a very good experience in leading teams, both onshore and offshore, and also excellent client-facing skills because I have been a part of the workshops which we conducted, the requirement gathering sessions with multiple clients, and then I was also responsible for translating that into functional and technical specifications, working and liaisoning with various other teams to get the task done. So I have been a part of all that. So I have very good experience in all these areas. I also completed a couple of end-to-end SAC and PAPM projects recently, where we implemented complex scenarios, including advanced formula, complex stories and allocations, value driver trees, and also the complex algorithms of allocation, which was done in PAPM. So overall, I would say that I have experience both as a hands-on developer and as an architect to design an end-to-end solution. That's it. That's how I do tell me about yourself. Again, within under 2 minutes, might have gone a little bit over 2 minutes, but it was within the range, acceptable range. I highlighted what is my specialization. I highlighted I have led both onshore and offshore. I highlighted that I have an end-to-end implementation experience, and I also highlighted that I have hands-on plus architectural experience as well. So I'm not a guy who just deals with PowerPoints and Excels, and I don't deal in the system. So these days, even if you're at an architect level, you're expected to be absolutely hands-on. Then the next question is, tell me a time when you faced a technical challenge and how you resolved it. This is what I was talking about, a tough situation or a tough technical challenge. Okay, we will discuss that because below the technical questions will have that. But as a general guideline, prepare that beforehand. Even before the interview, think about the situations where you have faced a lot of issues and how you resolved it, a technical challenge where you got stuck and how you resolved it, and the achievements, how you manage those conflicts, how you manage those roadblocks. So prepare yourself beforehand, and of course, everybody will have their own examples. The examples will be person to person, it will differ. Nobody will have same examples. So please prepare accordingly, and you can easily tell them when you are asked about this. And this is one of the most common questions, because again, no direct questions these days, but I would not say no direct, less direct questions and more scenario based questions are there. Again, we will discuss the scenarios here, so don't worry. What if you haven't worked on a specific area? Yes, this actually was a part of this, but we already discussed because it was one of the questions from the participants. So thank you for answering that. And thank you for asking that actually. So the answer is, be honest, but you don't have to be naive. What I mean by that is, don't say I don't know anything about it. Just tell that you haven't worked on a real project, but worked on a POC, and get a hands-on trial server, practice as much as you can. And of course, now I will add that very valuable input, that provide an example from previous client how you picked up a new skill and delivered successfully. That will give them a context that yes, this person can handle new learnings, challenges, and can very easily deliver with new technology. Then now comes to actual technical questions. So again, I have covered the most frequently asked. So there will be limited questions, and of course, in the interest of time, we have to keep it a little concise. Can we do real-time reporting out of BW? One of the most common questions. The rule of thumb is yes, we can, but there's a disclaimer. If data volume is not huge, then you can do real-time reporting from BW. Real-time means absolutely real-time, not near real-time. I'm talking about real-time. But the data volume has to be less than 1 million. So that's why I have seen that the moment it grows beyond 1 million, and with HANA now, this might be more, right? HANA can handle more. But still, if it is beyond 1 million or 10 million, then you will start seeing performance problems if it is absolutely real time. But it is possible. Can you do BW real time? Yes, you can. Okay. How? How can you do? What are the architectural options we have? So you should be aware of these options. Scenario number 1, SAP source and SAP reporting tool. Many companies, they are a complete SAP shop. So they have source also SAP and reporting tools also SAP. What are the reporting tools in SAP? Analysis for Office, AFO, SAC, SAP Analytics Cloud, the Enterprise Portal, and then BW. Many clients, they have not gone to BW for HANA. They are still on BW on HANA. Some are BW on classic database like Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, etc. They are still using Portal. They are still using BW. So there are clients. So that's why I have mentioned Portal and BW as well. But now with newer implementations, you will see SAC, Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, ClickSense, and many more. Now we are also going towards cloud. You will have your Databricks, you will have your Snowflake, you will have SAC. So there you have Azure, you will have Google Cloud Platform. So a lot of cloud players are also coming in. But if it is pure SAP reporting tool, then these are your most frequently encountered reporting tools. So if your source is SAP and your reporting is also SAP, then pure virtual real-time scenario will look like this. You have your S4 HANA, which is an SAP, so ERP source. You will have your CDS view. CDS view will be created here. On the BW side, you will create the data source, and the type of source system will be ODP CDS. So you will create data source in BW for HANA, and this is also possible in BW on HANA, by the way. So, but I have taken BW for HANA. So data source is there. You will create something called Open ODS view. Open ODS view does not store data. This is basically a replacement of virtual provider from the past. So we have Open ODS view. And on top of that, we have composite provider, again does not store data. And then we have BW query, again does not store data. So all these are real-time providers. Of course, data source doesn't store data as well. Of course, if you load the data, then it's a separate scenario. Then you will have PSA and stuff like that. But here in CDS view, I have a data source. I'm not loading any data. I have Open ODS view. I have composite provider. I have BW query. And this is a pure real-time scenario. So this CDS view is also an object which does not store any data. It's a definition. That's all. So this is a pure virtual scenario. But again, if the data volume starts growing and growing more, then you will have issues in this particular landscape. But technically, it is very much viable, possible. Second scenario, replicated data. Here, everything will remain the same. You will have CDS view in S4. You will have a data source of type ODP CDS in BW for HANA. But now you will have advanced DSO, ADSO. Of course, it can be any type. You can have staging ADSO. You can have a data mart ADSO. You can have your standard ADSO. So I have not gone into that detail. I'm just saying you can have one or multiple ADSOs. You don't have to have just one ADSO. It can be one layer, then second layer, then third layer. So it depends on your architectural guidelines. But you will have a persistent object here where data will be stored, and then composite provider and BW. This is replicated. Scenario number 2, non-SAP source but SAP reporting tools. So what will you do? Non-SAP, now there is no CDS view. CDS view is purely an SAP concept. Now you have tables. So suppose it's an Oracle or a SQL Server or some third-party data source like Teradata or something else, right? Or a cloud-based, even it can be a cloud-based as well. So now you will have a non-SAP source. You will have a table there. There are two ways to bring that data in BW and do a reporting with SAP reporting tools. What are the two ways? First way is you bring data not in the BW ABAP layer, but in the HANA database directly. So table will be replicated into a HANA table. It can be through SDA or SDI or SLT. There are various tools. SDI and SLT can have real-time replication, near real-time replication, and SDA is batch. So you will have this basically. Himanshu, you have a hand raised. Just give me 1 minute. Let me complete this, and then then you can ask your question. So we'll have the table. The table will be replicated in a HANA table. Then you will have a HANA calculation view on top of this. Then that HANA CV is exposed to a composite provider. Composite provider has the ability to have HANA source as a CV. Sorry, the CV as a source. So composite provider can do that, and then based on that, you can have a BW query. That is way number 1. The second way is you don't use the DB layer. So what you do is you will bring that table from a non-SAP source into an ADSO through a data source. But now the data source type, the source system type will be HANA SDA, not your ODP CDS, which used to be if S4 is the source, SAP is the source. If non-SAP is the source, then you will have the HANA SDA type of source system. You will create the data source there. Then you will replicate the table into ADSO and then composite provider and then BW query. Yeah, Himanshu, go ahead. You had a question?
Thanks, Devanshu, for the opportunity. Big fan of your work and the contribution to the SAP community. In regards to this screen, yes. Devanshu, the case number 1.
Yes.
the real-time reporting.
Yes.
I have an additional like layer which is an SSC. I want to consume the real-time data from S4 HANA to BW and then to SSC. Would the BW query be faster enough or with no impact to data read to SSC, or do we need to create a CDS view on top of maybe composite provider? I'm not sure whether we can directly build
No,
a
you
CDS
cannot
view
create
on
a
top of.
CDS view on top of composite provider. So
Okay,
what you will
okay,
do is, if it's a real-time scenario extended till SAC, then you will use this BW query as your source for SAC. And in SAC, there are two types of models: live model and import data model. You will create a live model on top of this BW query, and on that live model, you will create a story. That will be your pure virtual scenario all the way up to SAC. If you are facing performance issue in that, because it is going through so many layers, SAC, then query, then composite provider, OpenODS, data source, CDS view. So it's a big path, long path. So that's why I said thumb rule is less than 1 million, it will perform beautifully. More than 1 million, it will start showing up performance issues. So test it out in at least your QA server, because QA is usually a production refresh. So QA is up to date with production with few months old than production. So test this out with QA data. If it performs poorly, then BW is not your I would say BW will not be the choice. Then you can directly consume this CDS view in SAC from your S4 HANA and do the real-time reporting.
noted, Dipanshu. And just for a knowledge purpose perspective, can we create an HANA calculation view on top of the composite provider and then create a CDS view on top of the HANA calculation view? Is it possible, or I'm not sure? I mean, just asking.
Okay. It's possible to create a calculation view out of a composite provider. It's possible because in composite provider, there is a checkbox which says generate external HANA CV. Okay. So you can generate a HANA CV out of the composite provider. Same option will be there in BW query also. Same option will be there in ADSO also. So all these providers can generate a HANA CV. It's possible. Second point, can I create a CDS view on top of a what was the question? Can you repeat that? CDS view on top
HANA,
of what?
on a HANA calculation view.
CDS view on top of HANA CV. I have not done it. I don't think it's possible, but I might be wrong because I have not worked on that. Because in CDS view, you will write a select, and when you write a select, it expects a table or a view, database view, or another CDS view, right? But I have not. Maybe. Okay, so this is how I would test it out. When you activate a CV, it creates a runtime object in sysbic. There is a schema called sysbic, and it creates a runtime object. Maybe the select clause inside the CDS view can work on that runtime object which gets generated in sysbic. Again, this is theoretically I'm saying it might be possible, but practically I have not done it. I didn't get any such scenario, so I'm not sure whether it will work or not. But if you want to try it out, this is how you should try it out.
Noted. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anyone has anyone worked on this scenario using a calculation view inside a CDS view? I guess not. Okay, let's go ahead. So next is, we were discussing non-SAP source but SAP reporting tool. So we discussed that either you can use the HANADB layer and then finally expose to composite provider, or you can use directly BW ABAP layer and use the data source of HANA SDA and expose them. Next is SAP source but non-SAP reporting tool. So when I say non-SAP reporting tool, I am referring to Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, ClickSense, and many more. These are one of the most frequently encountered ones. So that's why you will have IBM as well. I forgot the name of that reporting tool. But yeah, IBM also has a reporting tool which is commonly used. So if that is the case, you have non-SAP reporting tool, then what you have to do is, and source is SAP. Okay, this scenario is SAP source, non-SAP reporting tool. So CDS view, coming to data source, ODP CDS, coming to ADSO, which is your actually storing the data replication. This is not virtual anymore. So we have the ADSO. Then you can use the ADSO in a HANA CV. So ADSO has a lot of tables, right? It has active table, it has change log table, it has the inbound queue table, and it also has a view number 8, right? Which consolidates all these tables. So either you can use active table that is frequently used and that is perfectly fine, or you can use view number 8 of an ADSO. Both are perfectly fine. So use those tables directly in a HANA CV and then expose the HANA CV to the non-SAP reporting tool. Why I did not create any BW query here? Because non-SAP tools will work much better with HANA CVs than BW query. They have a very tough time, connecting and talking to a BW query compared to a HANA CV. It's very easy for them because they can use ODBC or JDBC. These are the two technologies used. Open Database Protocol or Java based protocol. So these two technologies are industry standard and they can very easily connect to HANA CV and they can do the reporting there. That's why HANA CV is preferred over a BW query for a non-SAP reporting tool. Then the next one is non-SAP. Non-SAP is source, non-SAP is the tool as well. Again, there are two ways. First is you expose the table. Now it's non-SAP, so no CDS view in question. Expose the table as a HANA table, create a HANA CV, expose it to the non-SAP reporting tool. Or if it's you want to use the ABAP layer, then expose the table with HANA SDA source system data source. Go into ADSO, use the ADSO in HANA CV and expose that to the non-SAP reporting tool. Question from my side now. Which one would you prefer in this? If given a choice, which one would you opt for? Anyone would like to take a...
The first one.
The first one. Why? Why not the second one?
I don't need to persist data here, and as you said, JDBC, ODBC works with the first one.
No, you have to persist data here. HANA table means it is persisting the data here.
Okay, maybe for JDBC and ODBC.
Right. But that is happening in both sides, right? JDBC, ODBC is at a consumption layer. Once the HANA CV is created, then the ODBC, JDBC will come into picture to connect to the non-SAP reporting tool. So it's common between them.
Okay, in that case, maybe data source will have all existing logics given by standard.
There is no standard data source because you are connected to non-SAP source.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm closing all the doors for you.
Yeah.
Anyone?
If it is
in-memory database.
In-memory is used here as well, HANA CV. So the moment you come to HANA CV, you are coming to in-memory space.
Actually, we are using ADSO, so it might be we need to load the data into ADSO, so it will nearline reporting scenario.
Nearline is basically for your what should I say? When you want to store the data separately, like you don't want it to be in active memory, you want to have it in warm memory or cold storage. So that is used for nearline. Okay, let me give you the answer.
Second option I prefer, Dibanshu, and because we can use the navigational attributes and the hierarchies easily come with the
Exactly. Yes, you nailed it. So when you use BW ABAP layer, what is the benefit we are getting? We are not getting the in-memory technology advantage because anyways we are using HANA database in both cases. HANA CV is common. What are we getting from BW which HANA CV or HANA layer cannot easily give? Hierarchies and navigation attributes. So if you have a customer info object, you can use the navigation attributes, and then you can provide the additional drill down functionality with the BW, and hierarchies as well you can very easily provide. So if an interviewer asks you which one would you prefer and why, your answer should be, I would, given a choice, I would prefer to use BW because first of all, I can use hierarchies and navigation attributes, and second, I don't have to have any separate license here. If I have to use SDI or SLT, then I have to have a separate license for data replication also. Here I don't need any separate license. So these are the two reasons why you would go for second option. But I'm not saying first option is not good. It is absolutely good and it is equally better in terms of performance and all, no problem there. But additional icing on the cake, which are hierarchies and navigation attributes, you will get here easily versus this one. That's all.
Dipanshu, but if we are using navigational attribute, won't it impact the performance?
No, it won't, because navigation attributes are also generated as fields in the HANA CV. So it will be generated as a field which will be associated with the parent info object field, and database will take care of it. It won't have any performance issues. Okay, next. No problem. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead. I have a lot to cover, so I have to go a little bit faster now. Which ADSOs support inventory and which ADSOs support planning? Again, a common question. The inventory is supported by standard and data mart. Planning is supported by standard, data mart, and direct update ADSO. So I have given this screen to you. This is clearly giving you that which ADSO type will support what. We have 4 ADSO types in BW for HANA: standard, staging, data mart. This is the cube of the past. Sorry, and then direct update DSO. So planning is 1 and 3. Inventory is 1 and 3. Planning is 1, 3, 4. So that's what I've said. Inventory is standard and data mart. Planning is standard, data mart, and direct update. Next question. Have you worked on migration? Difference between remote conversion and shell conversion, and which one will you prefer? So answer should be yes, I have worked on migration if you have. Okay. If you have not worked on migration, for example, then you say that I don't have project experience, but I am aware of the migration concept because I supported a migration project. See how smartly you can actually say no, but also say yes. So what you will say is, no, I don't have a direct project experience, but the team who was doing it, Accenture you can say, or Capgemini, or whoever is the system integrator, I was supporting them in the migration from BW team. And by support, I meant that whenever they needed inputs from a BW standpoint, that what kind of data is there, how many valid process chains are there, what are the valid info providers. So I was supporting them. So while working with them, I got all the concepts and knowledge required for a conversion. Yes, I have not done it personally, but I know what is the shell conversion. I know what is the remote conversion. Then you are actually saying that I have a knowledge and I also participated, but not directly, indirectly. So shell conversion is basically conversion without data, and data can be loaded later. And this is the preferred approach. Why? Because it takes less time. There is no time spent on data loading. And also later you can choose how many years of data you want to transfer. You want 2 years of data, 5 years of data, 10 years of data. Because in your old BW, there might be 20, 25 years of data. You don't want all that in the new system. So you want only specified amount, like 7 years for legal requirements. That's what I have seen for auditing and legal purposes. So 7 years. So 7 to 10 years you can choose, and then later you can load the data. So that's up to you, right? Whenever you want and how much ever you want, you can load the data in shell conversion. Remote conversion is conversion with data. That means during the conversion, the data will also be transferred from your original BW system to the new BW for HANA system. And this happens to SLT in the backend, and that takes time, and that has some issues as well. I have seen that if your data types or the cube converted to ADSO, There are some type conflicts, so it can lead to some issues. I mean, of course, it's resolvable, but there will be time spent on that. So that's why shell conversion is preferred. Next question. Have you worked on CDS views for BW extraction? The answer should be yes, I have worked on CDS views. Because most of the time you will have a chance to work on CDS views. Even if you have not worked on CDS views, you can safely say I have worked on CDS view because if you are aware of all the concepts, if you are aware of how it works, then there is no harm in saying yes, I have worked on CDS views. Because any BW project, you can mention in your resume that I have a standard X data source, I have enhancing the standard data source, and I have CDS view as well. But what you have to know, what will come as a follow-up question is, how do you extract delta from the CDS view? So this is the most important annotation you have to keep in mind. For delta, you will have data category as mandatory annotation and data extraction. Just remember these two. Data category has to be there, data extraction has to be there. And these two will enable your full load. And then next, by element will enable your delta. So this is your delta enablement, and till here it is your full load enablement. So if you don't mention this, then it will be full load enabled. If you mention the by element, then it will be delta enabled. So this, just keep in mind, nothing like difficult to keep in mind, but data category, data extraction, by element, this is delta. And then we have max delay in seconds. This is just 1800 means your 30 minutes. So you will have that many delay in seconds. This is nothing but your safety interval. And then detect deleted records true. This is also very important. Do you want to detect deletions or not? So usually it is yes, we want to detect deletions also. So this is annotations. This is called annotation. And these are the mandatory necessary annotations for CDS view to have delta enablement for BW extraction. Then what is the process? First, you will create a CDS view in S4HANA or ECC. It's also possible in ECC. And add the necessary annotation in the CDS view. Write your coding in the CDS view. Create the data source in BW side. Very important point. Previous to CDS view, the standard extractors, the data source was found in RSA 5 and RSA 6. That means in the source. But in CDS view case, the data source is found in the BW side. So you will create a data source in BW, then you will create the transformation, DTP, ADSO, etc., etc. So the data flow you will create in BW, and this is how you will extract the data. And CDS view will always give you after images. Please remember that, very, very important. CDS view will not give you before, after image. It will only give you after image. That means that you have to have the first layer ADSO as overwrite ADSO. Because after image, if you have additive ADSO, data mart kind of an ADSO, then the data will be wrong. So you have to have override ADSO as the first layer, and then you can have your data mart ADSO. Tanveer has a hand raised. Yes, Tanveer, go ahead.
Yeah, so this delta enable, is this for single table or multiple tables?
Okay, that's a good question. So the delta enablement can be multiple tables. The CDS view can be based on multiple tables. Doesn't matter. But the field on which you will provide the delta, that has to come from one table, usually. You can also do multiple tables, but in that case, what you have to do is you have to concatenate the values. So say, for example, you don't have one field which can give you unique records. You have one field in table A, one field in table 2. Then you have to concatenate the values of these fields and then put the delta enablement on that particular field. That's how you can do multiple table delta as well. But usually, the field on which the changes, the delta will be enabled, will be coming from one main table. Okay. All right. Then Very, very interesting. I recently worked on that and I have posted my YouTube video also on that. There's a blog I have posted also. CDC. CDC is change data capture. This is a new concept in CDS views, and this will enable real-time replication. That means that as soon as there is a change in the underlying table or tables, then immediately the data will be pulled and pushed into the operational delta queues, ODQs. And that's how the data will end. It's not that it will send all the way to BW. It does not. It will send all the way to ODQ mon. That's all. Then your BW extraction, your DTP will take the data from ODQ mon. But at least till ODQ mon, it is automatic. So that's what the CDC will do. The major benefit with CDC is you don't have to have a timestamp or a date and time field in your table. You don't have to have any more. Previously, the requirement with these kind of delta was that you have to have a timestamp field or a date and time field or some delta enablement field, delta identifying field. But with CDC, it is no longer mandatory. You can have a table with no field of date and time or anything like that, and still you can have delta based on that. We recently did that on EKAB table. EKAB table did not it had a field, but it was not used. So that's why it was not populated. So we had no way to identify delta using a timestamp or a date or anything. So then we activated CDC. And what is CDC? CDC is basically trigger-based delta. So there will be 3 triggers created: insert, update, delete. And for CDC, the new T code is DHCDC mon, not ODQ mon. ODQ mon will come after this. So first you will monitor it in DHCDC mon, and then you will see that the entries have come in ODQ mon or not. Okay. And in ODQ mon also, you will not see the entry. Actually, you'll have to go at the table level. The table is called ODQ data. So you have to go inside this table and check whether the CDC has pushed the data from the source table all the way to ODQ data table or not. So this is how we did it. We enabled CDC on this. And how do you enable CDC? With annotations. There are CDC relevant annotations, which you can just, I forgot to put it here, I'm sorry, but you have to Google it. Just say CDC annotations. So the moment you add those annotations here, then the CDC will be enabled. And then you have to go into DHCDC mon and click on a button. That button is called Job Dispatcher. The moment you click on that Job Dispatcher button, the triggers will be created and your jobs will be enabled. And then the first time, the jobs will be enabled, but the triggers will not be created. The first time when you will run your initialization with the DTP, at that time the triggers will be created. So this is how the step by step it happens. Step number 1, you init or delta. The first time delta will basically be an initialization. With an info package or DTP will create that trigger. So the moment you start your info package or DTP for the first time, either it can be initialization or it can be delta, but the first time delta is also initialization. So that will create the triggers. Once the triggers are created, then continuous monitoring is happening. As soon as there is an insert in the table or update in the table or delete in the table, immediately there will be those triggers will monitor it and send the data to master logging table. Triggers will send the data to master logging table. Then there is an observer job which is constantly monitoring the master logging table. As soon as this guy observes there is a record here, it will start the transfer job, and the transfer job will take the data from master logging table to subscriber logging table. And I've also given the naming convention. If you want to see in SM37, what is the job name? This is the job name. And if you want to see in SE11 or SE16, the tables, this is the naming convention of the table. Okay. So the subscriber logging table will be populated. And as soon as the subscriber logging table is populated, the same transfer job will also push the data to operational delta queues. This is your ODQ mon. In DHCDC mon, you can look at these activities on master logging table and subscriber logging table, and with ODQ mon you can see the data has come into this table or not, ODQ data. Again, just by going into ODQ mon you will not see the data. you have to go into this table and see that the additional data is posted. Okay, and then of course the final step is BW extraction, which will take data from ODQMon and put it into BW. This is the entire process which happens in CDC, change data capture. All right. Next question. Sachin, I know you have a hand raised. Just give me a few minutes. Let me complete at least the BW part, and then you can ask a question. Because if I start taking questions now, then we will run out of time. Difference between BW on HANA and for HANA. Again, very common question, and this is the answer. In BW on HANA, you will have info sets. You will still have info sets. You can still have multi-providers. You can still have the old data types, right? SPOs and all, semantically partitioned objects. But in BW for HANA, all those objects will not be there. You cannot create them at all. During the conversion, they will be converted to the new object types. And going forward, you cannot create an info set in BW for HANA. You cannot create a semantically partitioned object in BW for HANA. Of course, you can create something called semantic grouping, which is there for ADSOs, but not semantically partitioned objects. That is not possible. Next, modeling is still possible in BW on HANA with GUI RSA1. So RSA1 is very much alive and you can do modeling in GUI backend. But in BW for HANA, you can do modeling only in Eclipse. It is replaced. SAP GUI is now replaced by Eclipse. And within Eclipse, there is a plugin called BW perspective, BW modeling perspective, you have HANA perspective, you have ABAP perspective. So you have to install those plugins and then you will start doing modeling in Eclipse. RSA1 P code is still there in BW for HANA, but the modeling tab is not there anymore in RSA1. So you cannot do modeling from that. Info package still possible with PSA. In BW for HANA, info package not possible. Only DTP is possible. PSA type functionality is still there in BW for HANA. How? ADSO inbound table will let you edit the records if the ADSO has 2 or more tables. So PSA functionality is not lost. PSA is still there. But not as a PSA. It is basically transferred to the inbound table of ADSO. BEX is not supported in BW, BEX still supported in BW on HANA. BEX is no longer supported. It has been replaced by BW query within Eclipse. So no longer, you cannot log into BEX query designer anymore. Inventory in BW on HANA is different. Inventory in BW for HANA has been changed. Very important again. Just a recap, inventory in BW on HANA used to work like this. The info cube used to have only one fact table F. So there was no longer E fact table anymore once you go on HANA. So in the F table, there were 4 partitions. Partition number 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 had compressed records, 2 had the initialization from the inventory, 3 had the historic transaction from the inventory, and 4th has uncompressed requests. If it is not an inventory info queue, it's just a regular info queue, then you will only have 1 and 4 populated. Partitions will still be there, but empty partitions will be there. And if it's in inventory info queue, these partitions will also be populated. Record type for initial stock 1, for historical movements 2, for delta movements 0. So we used to have 3 record types for inventory. In BW for HANA, no more cubes anymore. We know that. So now we have an ADSO for inventory. So there's a checkbox for inventory. And then initial stock will come with record type 1. This will not go to active table anymore. This will go to a separate dedicated table, table number 5. So all the initialization records will go to table number 5. Then historical movements will come with BF. And then it will have record type 2. And upon activation, it will stay as record type 2. Delta movements will come with BF. It will initially load with record type 0. Upon activation of the ADSO, it will change to record type 2. So that means now we'll have only 2 record types, 1 and 2 at the end of the activation. But in BW on HANA, we had 1, 2 and 0 retained. So this is a major difference between BW on HANA and for HANA for inventory. RSA7 still relevant and possible. RSA7 is the delta queue. It is still there in BW on HANA, but RSA7 is no longer possible in BW for HANA, only ODQ Mon, and now with new, we have DHCDC Mon as well for CDC based CDS views. There is one common question. Do you need additional license for using CDC? No. The answer is no. You don't need any additional license, any SLT license, because that SLT which is used with CDC is internally used, not externally used. So that's why you don't need a separate license. Is compression still required in BW for HANA? Yes, it is required. Compression is nothing but activation. So there is no compression actually, because there are no info cubes, but there is something called activation. Is activation necessary? Actually, that should be the question. Yes, it is necessary, but not for memory optimization, only for inventory ADSO. When you activate, the data goes to active table, the delta movements become from 0 to 2. So it helps the query performance. That's all. And that also, if you have greater than 100 million records, then query performance will improve. Otherwise, you will not see that difference. So it is still required, yes, but not for performance optimization, just for so that query can run a little bit faster for huge volume, but not for memory optimization. Previously, the compression in BW on HANA was actually not BW on HANA. In fact, BW on Oracle or traditional database, compression was used to save memory. Okay, but here it is not saving memory. Activation for inventory will just enable a better performance for a query with huge volume if you have. That's all. How do you consume a HANA CV in BW? Very easy. Two ways: via composite provider directly, or first you store the result of HANA CV in a HANA staging table. That is possible via a database procedure. So you do a select from the runtime object of the HANA CV, sysbic object, and put it into a table. And then from that table, you create a BW data source and you create the upward flow. So both these options are possible to use a HANA CV in a BW ABAP layer. And then last question for the BW side, how will you consume data from third-party sources? Again, two ways, as I showed you in the diagram as well on the top, either via BW data source of type HANA SDA, or first get data directly in HANA DB via SDA, SDI, SLT, or boards. Sometimes boards is also used. Create a HANA CV and then finally consume that HANA CV in a composite provider. If you go back to the diagram, this is what I'm talking about. So I think, this one. So get it into HANA table, create a HANA CV and expose it to composite provider and then BW query. So both ways are possible. And that ends the BW question. We are already at 110. Okay, I have to go a little bit faster. Okay, I'll take a quick 2-minute pause here and I'll see if there are any questions for BW technical content.
Sir, in one interview question, they asked me that actually in my project, the source was S4 HANA base tables, sir, like VBAK, VBAP, all those LIKP tables.
Okay.
Then we used to create a CVs on top of those source tables, okay, base tables. So one was asked like S4 HANA is already a cost efficiency, and why do you need again a native HANA to create a CVs and all on top of that reporting?
Okay, so I will ask a question first just to clarify. The reporting was happening from BW side or reporting is happening on S4 directly?
It is from MuleSoft, sir, actually. So
MuleSoft was connecting to S4 or MuleSoft was connecting to BW?
No, sir. The scenario is like the base tables were coming from S4 HANA.
Okay.
Those base tables are consumed in our native HANA to build the CVs. Okay,
native HANA of BW system.
Yes.
Or you didn't have BW at all?
No BW, sir. Only.
Okay. So it's a HANA sidecar scenario, basically.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So So your
The question
VBAP,
is like,
VBAK was coming into native HANA, which is a sidecar, no BW
yes,
at all. And then you were building calculation views on top of them and then consuming into MuleSoft, correct?
yes, sir. Yes.
So what's the question then?
The question is like, why already the S4 HANA is already a costlier system, and why do you need again a CV building? Like there were like lot of top efforts built, right? So in the native HANA, why do you need a native HANA in between?
Okay, so that's a good question. Actually, that's a valid question actually. Why do you need a sidecar native HANA again when you already have S4 HANA? Can't you build your calculation views within S4 HANA? Right? That would be the question. Why do you need a
Yes, sir.
separate? The answer to that depends on if S4 is your only source.
Yep.
If S4 is your only source, then you don't need a separate native HANA sidecar. You can directly do reporting using embedded analytics. You don't even have to create any HANA CVs within S4. There is something called embedded analytics, which is based on CDS views. You can directly do reporting, which is near real-time or real-time reporting based on CDS views, which you will expose to Fury tiles, and on the Fury tiles you can use that. You don't need it. But if the source is not just S4, you have other sources also like your Oracle, your DB2, your SQL Server. There are a lot of third parties, and you want to combine and do enterprise reporting, then yes, your sidecar is required, because that is consolidating data not just from S4 but from other third party and giving you a holistic view of your company.
Okay, sir. Got the point.
Got it, right?
Yeah,
so you have to ask a
Thank you.
counter question. What is my source? What are the different sources? And that will justify whether you will have a requirement for Enterprise HANA, which is your sidecar HANA or not.
Okay, thank you, Dipanshu.
All right.
Okay, so also I have one more question. Is Kishore here?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Suppose in case, only one, not only the one source system, right? If the source system having a history more than 5 years, right? If you really want to do any kind of analytics, still you are putting the load on the just S4 HANA. So in that case also it's a need to have just a tunneling to the different system there, where we do some kind of separating the load from your S4 HANA system, right? Source system.
Correct. I agree. But then the question will become, the client has to take a choice between cost and performance. If they are okay with little bit of a poor performance, like for example, the reporting in S4 is taking 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and they are okay with that threshold benchmark, instead of paying again millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a separate HANA license for a sidecar, they don't want to do that. Then it will be S4. But if it's a company which can afford a separate HANA sidecar, because see, today it all boils down to cost and budget. Okay, you can be you can say a lot of things, but at the end it all boils down to money. And if they are ready to spend that much money, and they will do that. You know why also they think about this? Because if you have a sidecar, you have to have a development sidecar, you have to have a quality sidecar, you have to have a production sidecar, or at least if not 3, 2 you have to have. Dev and QA you can have in one, and then you will have to have production. At least 2 you have to have, right? So that's why they don't want to go and spend that much money. They say that, okay, I'm okay with 5 seconds, 7 seconds, even 10 seconds is okay, but I can't spend. That's small and medium enterprise. Large enterprises, yes, they can spend, and they should spend on native sidecar if they don't want a performance dip.
Thanks, Devashish.
Yeah, sure.